Conrad TV, no hearsay. Hey, hey.
Mayday.
It's Conrad TV, no hearsay. Hey, hey.
Mayday.
It's Conrad TV, no hearsay. Hey, hey.
Mayday.
It's Conrad TV, no hearsay. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. One thing is certain, it's gonna be crazy, yo.
Conversational radio TV, just different.
Hey, hey.
Well, Pitori, Joe. 012.
Really?
012.
I had no clue.
Brother. Bona, others will probably say, Hore, I'm being biased to Pretoria. Because, this is our second guest from Pretoria. And I was thinking, we.
Pretoria hails greatness. That's
It
why.
does.
Yes.
It does,
Really
right?
does.
Yes.
That is why it is the national capital city of South Africa. And a lot of people, like I was saying, they will say, through you, chair. Chairperson.
But it's Friday.
Chairperson, can I go through you?
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
Please introduce yourself to the young ladies all across South Africa, all across Africa, who don't know who this great lady that I've had the pleasure of knowing, that I've had the pleasure of interacting with, that I've had the pleasure of seeing support every single initiative that I've ever invited her to. That just shows the character of the woman that sits across us, who understands the power of collaborations and partnership. And that is why you are the chairperson. That is why women have elected you. And man, I follow you, girl, and you do, what we call amazingness. Amazingness.
Thank you.
So I'm going to be shy. Here it's a crazy show. It's a Friday. You're absolutely right. Who is Sonwabise Sebata? Who is she?
Wow, what a question. Thank you for the introduction, Thato, and thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah.
Sonwabise was born in Mthatha.
Yeah?
I did boarding school in Potchefstroom, and then I grew up in Pretoria, so I speak a lot of languages. What is that?
It means that Zolisa also is from
Yeah.
the Eastern Cape,
Right.
and then
And
he
you
then
came
moved to
to
Pretoria,
Pretoria.
and he
Right.
speaks different languages.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a mother of two. Like you rightfully said, I'm the chair of the SA Women in ICT Forum. I'm also the senior manager for global policy and government affairs at Global Citizen.
Get out of here, man.
I'm a founder of a company called Saucy Creations that looks at impact investments through ESG for technology as well as innovation.
Yeah.
And I'm an MBA candidate at the African Leadership University of...
For those that don't know,
Can we
what
just
is
take a moment?
ESG?
Yeah.
Whoa. That was like, did you just say MBA candidate? Did you just say I got an investment company? Did you just say Keko policy? Did you say Ke chairperson? So you are doing 4 and you are multi-dimensional.
Multi-dimensional.
Can we give you a shout out? Can we just give a recognition and say shout out to women leading in different spaces and still being a mother of 2 and doing everything that you say that you've done. I know that you wanted to say something because
You mentioned ESG. What
Right.
to those that don't know, what is ESG?
Apologies, I should not use abbreviations. ESG is environment, social, and governance, and it's basically a concept that was coined a couple of years ago to see how we are incorporating all these elements in everything that we are doing in business, because it's so essential that we are holistic in how we do business. So we're considering the impact on environment, we're considering the impact on social standing, and we consider the impact on governance as well.
And governance in that sense, does it mean does it refer to corporate governance or actual national or state or provincial or municipal governance?
Right, that's a very good question. So yes, we differentiate between government and governance. So governance is the process of compliance, the process of ethics, and the process of ensuring that within a board, within a company, within a state, that we are following policies and we're following regulation and legislation. Yeah.
what is so fantastic? And then you find that majority of us South Africans are always so confused about what does governance mean, what does policy mean, what do all of these laws and legislations mean, right? Because now I start a business and then I say I want investments, and then someone tells me about policy. I'm just like, one policy, because the policy that I might know might actually just be from a metropolitan policy, discovery policy. That's a different kind of policy,
Right.
So if we were to just to differentiate, if we talk legislation, right? What is legislation, and how do you even get to legislate something? How does also policy play a role in that? Just help me as the lame, man who did not do an MBA or ALU.
Who did it at Henley? Who did it at Henley? Yeah. Right? This guy. So legislation is really the process of putting together law that will govern how a company works, that will govern how a state works, that will govern how institutions function.
Okay.
And
Right.
it's passed by Parliament, the legislature.
And it's passed by Parliament.
Bible comrade, members of parliament that we
Legislature,
always
yes.
see on television, they're fighting.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
In South Africa. It's
In
passed,
South Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
And then policy refers to, within a company, it's the guidelines for which a company operates. So it could be your HR policy. It could be your policy on supply chain, for instance. And so those are the two differences between what a legislation would be and the policy in that sense, yeah.
Okay. Cool. I mean, it's very important to explain
Yes,
certain terminologies,
absolutely.
right? Because now, even during this lockdown, there's been an outcry, especially for a lot of small businesses, about the fact that we can't access certain fundings because they say that our policies aren't aligned, there's no governance structures, there's a whole lot of things that aren't there for small businesses, right? And I think, is this maybe a moment where we need to just reflect as a country on how we educate small businesses, even before we fund them? Because the government has taken on quite a big responsibility and say that we will help small businesses come up. And then when small businesses come to government, they're like, yeah, but you don't understand 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And all these legislations are passed, and it confuses people. It confuses a lot of consumers and business people. And that's why I feel that our economy itself is struggling, because of the small enterprises themselves, in the majority, right, are struggling to understand just basic concepts of governance, policies. Because of now, then someone thinks, if I go to Matlala, he's going to charge me like an arm and a leg. I don't have that money to pay so that I can have all these governance structures. Because as an investor, would you invest in a company that does not have policies, governance structures? Would you invest in a company like that?
Exactly. No, you wouldn't. Yeah, and I think maybe we should take it a step back to how a business starts in a normal black home.
Yeah.
Is that you have your grandmother or whoever is the head of the household who runs a spaza shop, or who's opened a shop somewhere at the corner, or who teaches, at the school. It does not run on, here's a business plan, here is how we're going to comply with tax, here is how we're going to pay salaries.
Yeah.
It does not function that way. And that, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on where you stand, is a large portion of our economy, which we then refer to as the informal sector. And now when we try to bring the informal sector into the formal sector, it really, as you rightfully say, becomes a process of having to first educate on, what is this tax thing that they're talking about? What is UIF? What is payee? What is a process of coming together and having a business plan? What is registering a company?
It's almost burdensome.
Exactly. When all their lives, they've been running this business and they've been getting the money that they want, right? And so taking that step back of understanding how our economy, our informal economy runs is essential. It's really crucial. And then, going through the process of incorporating them into the formal sector. Or alternatively, coming up with different policies that will accommodate the informal sector. Because as you rightfully say, an investor really wants to know, and same applies to banks. They're in a conundrum where they have to understand what risk they are taking with you and with your business. In order to do that, they need to be able to see your numbers. They need to see your historical performance so that they can project what returns they're going to get in the future. Without that, it's very difficult for them to justify why it is that they should invest in you. Yes, an element of investment has to do with relationships and trust and understanding that, okay, Mmuso is a guy that is quite genuine, he's got a good reputation. But in addition to that, it really is about how your business has functioned.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of those discrepancies, you're finding that the same people, the same type of people, the same type of companies are getting the investments and not, the other informal sector, which is getting left behind.
So on that very same line of rationale, wouldn't that then mean that, because Thato asked a question, he said, would investors invest in a company that does not have, corporate governance, essentially? And then we know that the corporate climate in South Africa, and from a banking or financing perspective, is that they usually do not get financed. So is that not then a role that we need to play as black people, who know better and also maybe have some capital, to not make it form part of the criteria for investment, but instead you say, okay, my investment comes on condition that we work on your corporate governance and you actually fix it instead of turning it away?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. I think it's really the onus is on us who understand how legislation and policy work to incorporate the risk ourselves.
Yeah.
So that the other person who we're trying to invest in, who does not understand, who comes from an informal sector, can then be protected through us.
Yeah.
Because we understand that risk and we're able to maybe get the loans and we're able to show our financial projections. And the onus is on us to then turn the coin around and say how are we, what criteria are we then going to use to invest in other smaller companies that are coming up who do not necessarily have the means.
So you are talking about a system, a different system that can accommodate the informal sector. Because you've got the corporate system, and then now we need to work on an informal sector system that accommodates businesses that we do know in the majority. Because I think over 60% of our country is run by the informal sector. Right. And it was an interesting webinar that I watched with the president of Ghana, and they were asking him, how did you even manage through this crisis management, right, where you had to lock down Ghana, and the considerations as a leader that you took, right, understanding that your economy has to survive at the same time protecting your own people. And speaking to that, and then, even just this answer saying that we understood that our sector is mostly informal. Therefore, the decision that we made to lock down, it was to protect the informal sector, right, and it's been functional. And it's so interesting that the West Africans understand entrepreneurship ground up. These guys know how to run businesses, they know how to sell, like basic skills that if you go to a business school, you learn. But they've learned it through life. And we also know that in South Africa, to a great extent, it's the same thing. Yeah. But we don't want to invest in these companies that could create a lot of employment. So the economy itself starts to thrive, man. It also create, so that we create opportunity, so that we stop talking about the issues of poverty, whereas poverty is where the majority is. So, Chairperson.
Yes, sir.
Chairperson.
Yes, sir.
As an investor, as to what Mr. Mmuso was asking, is there an opportunity for us to start doing that? And it's not really like a racial thing that we speak. It's an economic issue that we are speaking to.
It's Africanizing incubation. Yeah. Essentially, incubation of businesses. Is that not?
Are you guys taking notes? That's a beautiful term.
Africanizing.
I'm going to re-listen to this thing, incubation. Listen, that should be a new thing. Yeah.
And I think that's why we've had the pleasure of having you on the show, and understanding that there's plenty different listeners from a lot of different communities across South Africa and outside of South Africa that are listening to the show, and they want to be like, I hear what she's saying. She's spoken about governance, she's spoken about policy. But I mean, she's from Mthatha, she grew up in a rich family, man. She had it all, right? And then probably others might think that people did you favors to get to where you are today. Yeah. And an MBA takes how many years?
2. Well, it depends which options you take. You can take the 1-year option or you can take the 2-year option.
You did that?
Well, I did the 2-year option.
2-year option.
Yeah.
Where is ALU? Could I walk there? In Rwanda.
I'm going to correct a couple of things that you have mentioned. So I think I grew up in the 80s. Yeah. In my opinion, I was not poor.
Yeah.
But I went to bread with home baked bread and tea. And, you know, Linda Nikitamaka inside a drain.
Did you dip it in the tea? Were you like those people?
Dip
Yeah.
into the tea.
Yeah.
You know. But for me, I was just so surrounded by hope and love and the way that I was raised, that for me, it was not poverty.
Yes.
For me, so when you say I grew up rich, I agree with you. I was very wealthy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
And then to your point around favors, that's a very, I mean, you blazed through that, but it's a very important and unfortunate thing that gets associated with women.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't just blaze through that.
Yes.
Right. That is something that we really need to impress. And if there are listeners that are, you know, experiencing that or are considering doing that, really patience in the work that you want to achieve is so important.
Yeah.
And and if every time you show up excellently. Every time you have to present yourself, you make sure that you are prepared, that you are dressed, you speak the way that you want to be portrayed, whatever that is. If you are an influencer and you need to, then you make sure that you do it to the best of your ability. And whatever choices that you make, they must be your choices.
Yeah.
So that whenever you are sitting across Thato and having an interview, you're proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And regardless of what association may come from your gender, your sex, your nationality, your continental affiliation, you know better, and therefore you're able to stand with your head held high. That's very, very important, especially for young girls who are coming up and are pressured to be a certain way or to do a certain thing. It's very, very important to dig deep and understand what it is that you want to achieve and stick to it and keep moving, no matter what you are not seeing around you, that will help you to keep moving.
So, I'm a young Zulu girl from KZN.
Yeah.
I'm a young lady from the Eastern Cape or from the Northern Cape. And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes I hear you. But I've got this fear that's burning inside me. You know, understanding what corporate culture has told us that you will never amount to anything. But yet there's opportunities in the informal sector to absolutely be great. You know, psychologically, what is the one thing that when you were young, you used to say to yourself, right, that has gotten you to where you are today?
I cannot take credit for this. It was just how I was raised. I just believed anything was possible.
That's fantastic.
I grew up being, you know, with my family and everybody just saying, you know, everything, every idea that I ever came up with, no matter how absurd it was not shut down. And so I believed that, and I still do, that nothing is impossible, and that whatever is in front of you right now, whatever circumstance, however dire it looks, you will wake up, God willing, tomorrow, and the life will go on. You just need to move towards some sort of direction, and life rewards you.
And I think this conveniently brings me to what I want to ask next, and I think maybe there's like a connection there, because I wanted to ask you that, seeing that you're the chairperson of the SA Women in ICT Forum, that must necessarily mean that you're in ICT, right? So first I want to ask is, which sector in ICT, if that's a question, or which specialization or field or aspect rather of ICT that you are, that your business is in, and secondly, what motivated you to go into ICT? Because you grew up in the 80s, you say, right? And I'm pretty sure there was a time, like when you went to varsity, was a time where a lot of black women weren't necessarily taking up space in classrooms or lecture halls of, you know, ICT related studies.
Yeah. So when I went to university, I didn't even know what ICT was. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I had been accepted into 3 courses. One was architecture, the other one was humanities, international relations, and the other one was accounting. And we were driving to Wits with my mom, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Then
Sorry, sis, what did I say?
A.
You accept to 3 different things. Because that's how awesome you are. That's how awesome you are. Ska ba shy. Ke Friday, ke the 8th of May, right? It's Information Month, it's Africa Month, and we've got an African queen who's, just sitting across us.
Absolutely.
And she's like, no, man, it's a king. Niki dila ga the option, it's a ngata. And oh, me. So you're with your mom, you're in the car, you're driving to Vets.
Yeah.
What happened?
I decide on the way somewhere in Midrand, driving from Pretoria, somewhere in Midrand, I decide I don't want to do accounting because I'm not going to be counting other people's money. And that's how I understood accounting.
Come on
I'm
now.
sure it's more
Come on now.
it's more, but
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not counting other people's money. They must count my money.
Yes.
We got to the gate and we asked for directions. It just so happened that they took us to Senate House.
Yeah.
And then I studied international relations. Fast forward a couple of years, I joined the Department of International Relations. I still don't know IT. IT for me is a laptop and a technician fixing a glitch on your laptop. So it's very much the hardware and the technicalities that have to do with Microsoft Outlook. That's all I know about IT. And then phones get introduced, and I get interested in how they create those games, Pac-Mans, these, all
Solitaire.
these software, Solitaire,
Snake.
Snake.
Must feature.
You know. But it's still not in my conscious that I can do IT or be in the industry of IT. I graduate, I joined the department, was DFA, Department of Foreign Affairs back then. I moved to India as part of a diplomat. I come back and I join agencies.
Yeah.
And then as part of my clientele, I get introduced to a lot of tech companies. And I completely love it. I consult from a PR policy and stakeholder point of view, and I completely fall in love with how it works. And I joined Cisco. And one of the things that I did when I joined Cisco is that I made sure I befriended all the engineers. Befriending an engineer is a really tough thing to do.
You speak of it very important. You befriend. Why did you do that? Why is it so important for you to understand that when you get into a business, there are specific relationships that you need to nurture?
Absolutely.
Why did you do that?
Because you have to understand your business and you have to understand each and every corner of it. You might not specialize in it. You might not be the expert that everyone goes into.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting in a room and you're in a meeting and you're asked to comment about something, you must be able to comment about it if you are in that industry.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. So I befriended all the engineers. I learned everything they did from cybersecurity. I learned the company inside out, cybersecurity to data to the software elements to the content of how the research is undertook when you're in the ICT space, and that's how I ended up doing IT and being interested in the sector. And then as I was in the sector and being invited to meetings and gatherings, I realized actually a lot of the times it's just male inside the room. There's very few women that are inside the room. And I got introduced to a wonderful woman called Charmaine Hove.
Oh, yeah.
And she so happened to be running this forum at the time. And she would introduce me, she would invite me to the forum, introduce me to what the forum does. And so I would consult to the forum and really, at the time it was really just coming in and out and consulting and being a member and understanding what it is that they're trying to achieve. And then I did a lot of work into that specific area around the shortage of women in ICT. Figures such as like in the 80s, there was over 48% of us in the sector. So we were almost equal.
Yeah.
Come to 2017, we're sitting at less than 23% of women in the sector.
Yeah.
When we look at the SMEs portion of technology, where less than 3% investment goes to women-owned businesses in the sector, which is completely appalling and completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And coming to understand what are the reasons for that, what are the challenges, why is that happening, and how can we address it? As women in the sector, firstly, because you cannot expect other people to invest in you if you're not investing in yourself.
Absolutely.
But also as then collaboratively working with other people who are in the sector to see how we can really address this in terms of, firstly, acquiring more girls from a young age to be interested in the sector, but also then retaining professionals in the sector.
When was the forum formed?
In 2014.
2014. When did you become chairperson?
last year, 2019.
And how long is your term?
5 years.
5 years. So that means you've got.
So the president, did you?
Yeah, no, that's
So-
okay. So what I want to know is this: is what are your objectives? So wait. It was formed in 2014. That means you this. Have you? Is this your second term as chairperson, or is
It's the
this?
first.
It's the first. Okay. So you're the
So we've
second.
been in office for 1 year.
chairperson. So you're the second chairperson of the forum. What do you set out? What legacy do you set out to leave at the forum in 2024?
2024. It is.
Yes, in 2024 when you
Yeah.
when you leave office.
Yeah. So we've been, as you rightfully say, we've been in office now for 1 year. And what we've done is that we took the lessons and everything that we've learned this past year, and we're currently busy drafting a 2019 to 2024 strategy. And our main pillar is around creating opportunities for women in the sector.
Okay.
And we are busy now with a concept that will be the legacy that we're going to leave behind. I cannot talk about it yet because it's still in the development stage.
Yeah.
But we're working towards a legacy that will create real impact. Because when we did our research, there's very, very little that people can achieve when they're hungry. There's very little that people can achieve when they, when they're not getting
Uninspired.
money on the table.
Uninspired, yeah.
They become, it's very difficult to think
Yeah.
and to innovate
Yeah.
in that state. So just to say, in those few words, that our legacy and what we're going to be leaving will be addressing that portion.
So I think you're not answering the question. If when you are done with your term, what do you envision?
From a personal
Point of view, how many women would you have, see to say, you know what, we would have empowered so many women, right? So many businesses we probably would have, whether you reach it or you don't, but it's
What's
a
your
vision.
dream?
What's your dream?
Yes. So our dream is to increase that 3% of women-owned businesses who haven't, or rather to tap into that 97% of women-owned businesses that are not invested in.
Okay. Eish, chairperson.
If I can put it like that, you're digging, you're trying to really get it out of me.
Yeah, because we've come all the way from Thato, then we went to Pretoria, then we went to Vets, then, we said, okay, we've got 3 different options that you want to take on.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'm going to study international relations. Then you went to different departments. Then you flew around across the world. Then you discovered technology. Then here you are now, you're the chairperson of Women in ICT, and you've got a huge responsibility on your shoulders. Huge one. Right, because a lot of times there's this notion that basadi man, they've got too many issues. They will tell you about kids when they're supposed to work. They'll tell you about family responsibilities when they're supposed to work. And I hear this thing a lot, but I'm like, Banna, when we complain about women doing all of these things, who are we expecting
Exactly.
to raise these kids of ours? Who are we expecting? Because me, I'll tell you, man, me and my mom did like the most. Me and my mom showed me what leadership looks like. She was able to do so many things. I was like, how is this woman managing this diversified responsibility? Taking care of you, make sure you eat. I'll just say, hey, hold up, But here we are, and a lot of families, especially black families, have to grow up. If it's not your mom, it's your grandmother. I think, I'm not sure. But
it's predominantly a woman. It's predominantly like it's predominantly.
And this goes across all cultures.
Yeah.
That women are just making the things that make the pots to cook like it's a stew, right? So you've got this, you as the forum, you've got this responsibility and this dream, and it's gonna come alive even after this. But now you've done the ICT thing. Then being a mom, how great a job is it? Being a mom.
So firstly, it's Mother's Day on Sunday, and flowers are back in store. I love flowers.
Okay.
Right. Being a mom is a really, really, really difficult job, and you don't quite appreciate it until you become a mom yourself, and not necessarily because you're a mom because you carried a child in your womb.
Yeah.
You could be a mom by extension or by relation or whatever the case may be. But it's a really, really difficult job because I will take this lockdown just as an example, is that I am home, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, and I'm a professional. And I'm the head of my household.
Yeah.
So while I'm sitting at home and being all these various roles, I still have calls coming in where I have to ignore the fact that my child just fell over there because colleagues are feeling some type of way if I even mention that my child is, if they even hear a squeak of a baby in the background, as if we're supposed to ignore the fact that we have children and they're in our space right now. When you're sitting in an office where, you're in a meeting and the meeting is running over, it's now 8 p.m. and your male boss, or not even your boss, your male colleagues are carrying on the meeting because maybe perhaps their wives are at home already. You're not at home. And if you even, if you haven't gotten to the point where you're able to express yourself, that can be a really, really frustrating thing.
Yeah.
And there's companies that don't even allow for that space where you can even express that, hey, listen, I really have to go. Or I have to pick up my kids. Oh, there she goes again.
So corporate culture does have to change at some point in time because of, we lose a lot of great resources, right? Because of now we say that because if you've got a responsibility to your kids, now it's a problem because we feel that you're not committed. And I think I've seen it happen a lot of times. I'm honest, guys, I haven't worked in corporate. I've just heard friends, they talk about, hey, corporate is like this, it's like this and like that. But I do agree with you. Corporate culture does need to change. And it needs to accommodate the fact that we are all raising families, men or women. There are also single-headed households. But during this lockdown, you spoke about a very important point that, these are some of the things that we are challenged with. Now we're expected to be teachers.
Yeah.
Some of us, we finished school 2 years ago.
Now you must remember
phonetics.
phonetics.
Remember phonetics and the Mama 1+. I'm just like, man, because my son once asked me, he's like, Papa, when was the first road built? And I'm just like, man, wait.
How old are you or your two children?
My boy is 7 and my girl is 4.
Oh, okay.
I know, boy. Who has the parents?
I'm a child, man. I'm still a child. Not with age per se, but like I'm still a child. Like I see myself as like a child. I'm like, imagine a child
having a child.
Child.
So you're saying that we were children when we were having
kids? I'm the
kids?
most childish guy you'll ever meet. Like,
wow.
I don't think you should lose that when you're a parent.
And I, just to touch on something also, then lockdown happened and a lot of women have found themselves trapped to a higher degree, with even husbands that don't love them enough or boyfriends that don't love them enough.
I just want to say he used the word trapped.
Yeah.
I didn't use, you used it.
Yeah. No, for sure. Because I want to speak about an important point of even just gender-based violence for women that have been trapped in these spaces and they can't just get out because they feeling like, lockdown, okay, where do I go? I can't even go across the province to my mom or to my sister. What do we say to our sisters? What do we say to our sisters that are finding themselves in these spaces? Just as a form of comfort.
Oh man, that is such a heavy question. Wow.
I think that's
a really, really heavy question. I think that it's very, very easy to sit on the outside and try to advise someone who's going through GBV.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, it's not fair. Because no matter what I say to them or what we advise them, they still have to wake up next to that person every single day. They still have to face that every single day. So I do not know if words would be of comfort, Thato. But what I do know is that really as a country, firstly as citizens, we really need to stop keeping quiet about it. When my friend is saying, hey, chomi wang shapa waitsi, it turns me on. Like, you need to cut that out.
The social conversations.
There's those conversations where your friends are saying to you, your male, and they're busy saying, with us, so. Cut it out right there. Those, as citizens, let's start really holding each other to account to those type of the wording, the words we use, and in fact, and then the physical that we do. And then also, I think as government, really sitting up and strengthening our safety measures is really, really heartbreaking to report a case in South Africa. Because when you get there, the cop will just not take you seriously.
Yeah.
They will laugh at you. They will say, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, why was Amshapi back?
Yeah.
Like, there isn't a safe place. And already when you've been violated in some way, you already have so much shame on you. You really do not need...
More ridicule.
Yeah. And having safe places where people can report. And I know that the Department of Women and Youth submitted 2 weeks ago, they submitted a plan to the president, which the president is currently reviewing, which was a follow-up from 2018. But I think we're not acting quick enough. We're not acting willingly enough as a country. And I think even ourselves as citizens, we're not saying enough. I mean, we will text each other, hey, I think the guy next door is beating up his wife.
And like
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
And there was just a reason why I asked that question, because of I know it's something that is very close to you, and I know no words can comfort, but just sometimes just people must just so that they must know that there's someone out there who's thinking of us.
Yeah.
Right, that you're not alone, my sister. Ronara Machenze that are also saying to the Machens that are doing that, homeboys, let's talk. Right, let's start the process of healing ourselves, because of it does showcase that there's a missing element, because we do understand that a lot of young men also have grown up without role models and dads, but that does not excuse you hitting our fellow sisters. We brothers, we sisters, we fathers to daughters. So we do have to address it. We do have to address it. But so I just want to say, my sister, we with you.
Yeah.
We with you. We with you. We with you. We with you. Khotlolo,
And most importantly, you are enough.
Come on.
You are enough, and it's just so important for women and children who are going through such things to realize that to just keep waking up every day and telling themselves that they are enough. Because that will give them the courage to take whatever action they need to take for themselves.
What's about Honali Pinegerat? Oh, Sasana ya kweneng. Ona lady. That's a song that I'm just like, all our African ladies, man, start knowing that you're beautiful. You're really beautiful. I appreciate your beauty. I appreciate the fact that today I stand here because of a woman showed me love, But Sonwabise, if I want to follow you on social media, because you've got very solid content that you put out there. And I think a lot of people, sometimes we follow celebrities because we love them, but follow content. Follow content.
Yeah.
Where do I find this interesting content that Ronabo Thato Molamu, would use our data to follow?
Right. On Twitter, firstly follow me at Sonwabise. And then depending on your interests, there's lots of really incredible guys. The guy I just found this week is at Gavy, and it gives really good nuggets on life.
Crazy guy.
Yeah. But there's so many people. I mean, Mashuda, you guys take out so much stuff. Bulelani, there's just so many people who really speak nuggets. And I follow people that are authentic, people that speak truth. People that are real. I follow those type of people. On LinkedIn, I'm Sonwabise Sebata, so you can connect with me there. And the companies that I would recommend on LinkedIn is Tech Guru. They do some really incredible content that they put up. Follow researchers. Follow IMF, IDC, World Bank. You might not agree with
some of the values and standpoints.
People are very ideological with these things.
Yeah.
But that's, that research will give you so much content to be able to have conversations and to understand how your business or your profession functions in the greater scheme of things.
We should go beyond rhetoric, the rhetoric that we hear,
Absolutely.
whether it be political, ideological,
Absolutely.
whatever. We should really just educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to make a commitment, right? But obviously you can only commit after. So you refuse to tell us. Well, you didn't refuse. You were not in a position to tell us your plans. Yes, right now, right? So, can you share right, your plan with us, right, once you are in a position to share it with us, whether it be as a document, voice note, to text, right?
We want it back here.
Right? Because we want to ask you to come at least annually, right?
Okay.
So that we can because it's a very, very huge thing that you're trying to do, and it's a very meaningful and impactful thing. It's a serious thing that needs to be done by the forum. So that we hold you to account every year, right? We look at your plan. We're like, okay, so it's been a year since you last met. How far have you come? Have you done this? You know, like your milestones and everything. Would you be open to commit to that?
I commit fully to that. I will absolutely. We'll come announce what we are doing, first and foremost, and then we'll come every time we have a milestone. We'll come and announce that milestone.
Okay.
Because I think it's also very, very important for your audience to participate
Yes.
in what we're about to announce.
And I love the fact that, because we want to start shifting this was responsibility to leaders, to be held accountable. Being held accountable is not that we are judging you or we're saying that you're weak as a leader, but we just want to inspire you to be able to do the work so that you're able to create opportunities for those that need the opportunities, to also give information to those that need the information. And next week, I know that, in your space, it's a big thing that is happening next week. I mean, it's World International something for Information Technologies, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Others will call it ITC, others will call it ICT. So I just wanted, and I'm very, very thankful that at least people can get to follow. And you spoke also about Bulelani. He's doing amazing work for township entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
We also want to have him. I think I did share it. That we want to also have him come to the space, because we want people to know where the opportunities are.
I would also recommend you have the ready skills or Mangoba. They do that graduate thing.
Yes. No, we're gonna have all these great conversationalists to come here, and I think it was just important just to set the tone, and that's why we had mothers come today here because of it's Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And she says she loves flowers.
I
So
do.
Mmuso, we
I
have a
love
responsibility.
flowers.
What
Me
type
and
of
you.
flowers you like? Don't say roses.
No.
Oh, thank God. You are really a queen. You are really different.
What kind of flowers do you like?
White lilies.
White lilies. Why white lilies?
They mean I dare you to love me. It's a constant movement. It's
Get
a
outta here.
constant movement.
Get
They
outta
don't
here.
stand still. I
Yeah.
don't like things that stand still. Things
Okay.
that move.
All right.
Yeah.
Kind of like last Nyana questions.
So just to say that we are working on next week is going to be an event that will be happening. Do follow us on social media. Follow me. Follow Ntabi on social media as well.
Yeah.
It will come up in the next few days in terms of where you can watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are some of the women that are involved in the SA Women in ICT?
Right. So I did say that the person who actually kind of co-founded was Charmaine Houvet, who's currently the chair for SACF. In
SACF?
the South African... Ooh, I'm sorry. The South African Communications Forum, which is where all the telecommunications companies are represented.
Okay.
Right. On my board currently, my deputy chair is Irisha Lohanga, who runs a human capital company called Redefine. I have Ntabeling, who is your producer.
Yeah.
I have Teresa Stewart, who used to work for Altran and now works for American Towers. I have Marilyn Radebe. She runs her own company. It's called Soma Solutions. It's a software. It's a software company.
Yeah.
And lastly, I have Andrea Campbell, who is the corporate and external affairs manager at Microsoft. We will be going out to market for more board members.
Can I be part? But we spoke about this,
Don't
guys.
make a commitment.
Yeah.
No, you know why?
That's
Mmuso,
why.
For sure.
That's why I was like,
I've had the privilege. I really had the privilege of sitting in the presence of great women last year, and I was so fortunate to be invited. And she was heading up, the interviews and the conversation. She was the head panelist, and I was just like, man, chairperson, you're doing amazing work. Sometimes I've got so much respect for you, and you might not even know how much respect I've got. I might just play it down, but I'm like, hey, one motivator, and I really just want to give a big shout out also to the SA Women in ICT, for taking on the baton and running with it. And a big up to Charmaine for starting, something of this nature and creating these platforms. Information is important. Let's share. And I just want to say, man, what are the last words? If you want to close it, how do you want to close it off? What's the last words that you want to say?
Last words.
Yeah.
The last words is not just to, to expand it from the GBV conversation, just to say to everybody, even if you're not, you really are enough. And really, I think what COVID has really shown me personally is that just move, just do something. Anything, just do one thing at a time, and the universe will give it back to you and will reward you for what you're doing. And do it even when nobody else is looking.
Yeah. Can I ask you just one more thing before we wrap up? Actually, I had forgotten. So COVID, right, is affecting business. It's affecting business, traditional business. But seeing that now everybody's at home, suddenly the need for technology, internet, and communicate, ICT, has gone up, right? Or am I not?
No, you're right. You're right.
So what I'm asking is this: what have you observed from your members, or what have they observed, or what feedback have they given you about their businesses in COVID? Has it affected them equally as bad as the traditional business, or is there some growth prospects on the horizon, or are they actually is business getting better?
Right. So I think, firstly, to understand that the ICT sector is huge. There's many different types of businesses and types of solutions within the sector itself. So we're seeing that the utility space, is all your software, video conferencing, is increasing. There was a time where hardware was increasing. I'm not sure if it's still performing that well, because then we couldn't buy it anymore.
Oh, yes.
And then we're also seeing that things like connectivity is increasing, is doing very, very well. So your fiber, your data, your Wi-Fi, that space is doing very, very well currently. There are some aspects of that are in limbo. So, for instance, I also sit on the BBBE ICT Sector Council, and things like equity and ownership, because we've had to sort of pause on registration, pause on how we do business itself. So those things are a little bit delayed. Not to say that they're not going to, they're doing badly, but they're delayed. We're also seeing that how companies are having to rethink how they execute on BBBE commitments. So if a company had planned to do some kind of training, which was physical, because in some neighborhoods, in some communities, in some rural communities, you can't do things online. They had to go there with their computers, with their equipment. They're now having to think how they're going to do that without connectivity in the rural areas. So we are seeing very, very different disparities, and it's not the same experience for everyone.
It's not the same experience. Opportunities are starting to be created. We probably will be the case study, right? Because we're only experiencing this now. It's forced us obviously to innovate much quicker, much faster, and obviously we've now seen obviously the difference between the have and the have-nots, but I believe as a country we will survive this.
Absolutely.
We will survive this, right? Like in every revolution, as many jobs as there are lost, the same amount of jobs will be created in just different kinds of sectors. So training is very important. Upskilling is very important.
And
the free online and entrepreneurship is very, very important. So thank you very much for inspiring a young entrepreneur that is probably sitting at home. Young moms that are also sitting at home and wondering, can I do it? Or yes, you can.
You can.
Yes, you
We brought
can.
you evidence.
We brought you evidence.
Evidence.
It is possible. And it's South African, it's African. You can fly to ALU and do your MBA for 2 years there. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Miss Sonwabise Sebata. All the way from Umtata, Ayako, Pretoria. Our fabulous, our fantastic mother of two, and man running and doing great things. And
Thank you.
10 years from now, we will look back to this interview. right?
And the other four that are
and the other 5, right? And a young lady will be inspired because of at least you've put a picture that it is possible.
Yeah, it
Right, so
absolutely is.
That's what Conrad TV is about, bringing real conversations, man, with real people that have got the swag, they've got the vibe, and happy Mother's Day!
Happy Mother's Day
To all the lovely mothers that have been doing amazing things, that have raised young boys like us. By a lot of, we're going to close it off.
Cheers, guys.
And it's been fantastic. It's been great. I want to say thank you to our team. I want to say thank you to the Brand Connection team. Brabongs, Mila, Kolani, Mark, for putting all the work together. Trinity, Ntabi, everyone that has brought this team together. Guys, every single Friday, you're going to be with us.
It's Conrad TV, no hearsay. Hey, 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 hey. One thing is certain, it's gonna be crazy, yo.
Conversational Radio TV, just different.
Hey, hey.